Hello everyone, welcome to Brown Animation, and in this video we are going to look at the functions and buttons which are there in the Dynamesh option. Let's get straight into the video and we will see that there is a tool option, and under tool we have geometry, and under geometry we have this Dynamesh option, and we have different buttons over here. We will look at these buttons briefly, what these buttons will do. So here I have this cute cactus model which I have sculpted earlier, and the full process of this video, this character is there on the YouTube channel Brown Animation. You can check it out. So what is Dynamesh? Dynamesh is basically a mesh generating tool which will help you to generate mesh while you are sculpting. So for turning on Dynamesh, you can just click on this button, and for reapplying Dynamesh again and again, you have to hold Control on a keyboard and drag a mask onto the canvas. Then the Dynamesh will reproject itself again. For example, we can see by Shift F, we can see the polyframe of this model. So here we see we have quite a dense mesh. That is because I have Dynameshed this mesh earlier. So we are using snake hole brush, and if we pull something like this, for example a thorn, so we'll see that there is a stretching in the mesh. So for solving these kind of issue, we just click on the Dynamesh button, and Dynamesh will automatically do its thing and it will generate the polygon on the go. So this is very helpful, and you can see there are other polygons which were there, and it all get Dynameshed into it. We have turned on the Dynamesh, but we have again changed the mesh. So for reapplying the Dynamesh, we just have to hold Control, drag, Control and drag. So you can see we have changed the mesh again, but Dynamesh was already turned on. So for that thing, for reapplying Dynamesh, we don't usually turn off and on this thing. We just hold Control on the keyboard and drag a mask on the canvas. Then it will automatically generate the mesh for you. So this was basically a freeform sculpting tool by Zbrush, and this is very helpful, very helpful if you are sculpting. And it's like traditional clay. We add traditional clay to get the forms, and in this thing we don't have to worry about the topology. We just add geometry, and we just push and pull the geometry to get the desired sculpt, but we don't worry about the topology. So this was Dynamesh, and the group option is also there. Group, if you turn on the group option, let me show you an example. If I append geometry like sphere, if I append a sphere and merge this thing with the sphere, so you will see that there is a sphere in the bottom, and we have different polygroup onto it. If we turn on the group option, these things will get applied and Dynamesh will be applied, but these groups will be different. Means you can select these groups separately. Control Shift, you can just tap on the mesh and you can select the groups. Whatever the polygroups are there, you can select them. See, Control Shift, you can select this thing. So this was the group option. Then polish option is also there. It will just apply a polish all over the mesh when you apply Dynamesh. So if we turn on this Dynamesh, and we will just, with group option, we'll just drag a control drag, and then you can see it's quite smooth now. If you turn off Shift F, you will see that it's very smooth now, but it was like this earlier, and now if we apply this thing, it will smooth out the mesh. So polish option is like its name is, it polish the surface after applying Dynamesh. Then blur option is there. It will control the amount of blur which will get applied when you Dynamesh the model. If we have a less number and we apply Dynamesh, then the amount of detail which we have on this model will not get reduced, will not get blurred. But if we increase this number and we apply the Dynamesh, then the blur will automatically get applied to all the subtools, and it will just blur out the details according to the slider. And we have other option, project. If we are sculpting some detail on this mesh, I'm just telling you briefly about these things, but mostly we don't use all of these buttons. But yeah, you have to know that what these buttons will do. So if we applied like this, we have applied some details onto this model, and we just reprojected, like we just applied Dynamesh once again by holding Control. Then if this project button is on and the resolution slider is at resolution is higher, then the Dynamesh will automatically get the details which I have sculpted over here. If the resolution is not high and project button is on, resolution is not high, then it won't do anything. It will try to capture as much as detail, but if you can see, if I turn off the project button, it will do something like this. It will blur out the area. But if I have project button turned on and resolution slider at this as a decent resolution, then if I apply Dynamesh again, you see Dynamesh is applying, then you can see it's almost as similar as I have sculpted it earlier. So project button help us to project the details while applying Dynamesh. Resolution slider is very easy to understand. You just have to understand that the amount of resolution which we have onto the mesh is controlled by this thing. If we get a very low number, we will get a resolution like takes some time to project and reproject itself, because we have different subtools. You can see 304 resolution is like this. And if we reduce the resolution and we'll apply the Dynamesh, you will see that resolution get reduced. So this is basically the amount of density, the polygon density of your mesh while sculpting. And sub projection is also simple. It's like when we increase the amount of sub projection, it will lead us to see that where the edges are, the more crisper edges are, there the polygon count will be increased. And for understanding it better, understanding anything in the ZBrush better, you just hold Control and hover over that option. You will see a short description or short information about the particular button or tool which you are using. So this is very important. That is how I am learning over a time. So sub projection is something like this, where if we increase the slider, we will see that where the edges, where the crisper edges are, the geometry will get more dense on those areas. So this was it. And now let's see the other function, which is these buttons. And if we turn off Dynamesh, we'll see that some of these buttons are not highlighted. These buttons will get only work. These buttons which are in the below only work when we have Dynamesh turned on. So what these buttons will do, these buttons will work like as these are. Add, subtract and AND is like Boolean function. I hope you are familiar with the Boolean function. So if you are not, let me know in the comment section. I will explain it to you in my later videos. It's very simple. It's like something like this, that we have two meshes and we have some operations, like we have to add those meshes, subtract those meshes, or we can get the meshes which is in between the intersections. In this example, I will explain it to you. I have this IMM brush and I will just hold Alt and drag that mesh onto the model, and you will see this is a negative mesh. This is a negative mesh which will be added, subtracted or inserted in between. So you will get a better understanding. First we have to remove the mask. So Control, drag, and mask will get removed. And if we click add, see that mesh and this mesh get added and we get this type of mesh. Okay, then if we subtract, then in this case this is also happening as the same. But if we click AND, you'll see that the intersection part is there. We get the intersection part of the mesh. And there's an interesting option which I recently got to know about this option, but this is very helpful. We just hold Alt and drag out a mesh onto your Dynamesh or any mesh. Basically it will work with Dynamesh only. You can see this is the double is not turned on, that's why it's like this. If I turn on double, then you will see this thing. This is basically a negative mesh and the mesh was flipped. That's why it was not visible. You can turn on Dynamesh. And I have this custom menu which I have made. If you want to know how to make custom menus also, you can let me in the comment section. So here we have this thing similar to the case earlier. So we have this mesh and this negative mesh. We'll remove for inserting a negative mesh, you have to hold Alt, then only the mesh will get inserted as a negative mesh. You can see polyframe option. This mesh is like this and this is this. So create shell and thickness is basically the thickness, you will see, and create shell will do this. It will create a shell and you will see the mesh inside, it's hollow, and that is really helpful. Let's see if I can show you better by just inserting this mesh onto this mesh and removing the mask and just create shell, and you will see that you can see the hollowness inside. You can see the hollow model inside. So this option is very helpful when you want to create a 3D print, so that extra amount of residue, the resin or the filament will not get trapped inside it. So create shell option was there, and the thickness controls the amount of thickness which we have here. So in this case it was like sphere under it, that's why it's like bumpy, but controls the amount of thickness. So we have covered all the buttons which were there in the Dynamesh option. I hope these are clear to you, and if you have any doubt in these buttons, one more button is there, this picker button. Picker button is relatively new to this Dynamesh option. This will help you to get the resolution of the mesh by just like this. You just hold and you will get a picker option, and we'll just drag it on to the mesh. You will get the resolution, what type of resolution that mesh is currently at. So we have looked at the Dynamesh button. This is basically the main button, and resolution is also very important after Dynamesh, and if we have to apply Dynamesh again and again, we have to just hold control and drag onto the empty area of the canvas. Then we have looked at the group option, polish option, project option, picker option, then resolution, blur, sub projection, add, sub, then and create shell thickness. We have looked at every option, and if you have any doubt, please let me know in the comment section. I want to know that how these videos are helping you. I'm trying my best to do videos continuously, because working for full time and creating YouTube videos is really very tough. So I'm trying my best. So I need your support, and please let me know in the comment section what you feel about these videos. Thank you so much for watching the video. For details, you can check out the description of this video and Brownware Animation website. See you soon in the next video.